Good evening, and welcome to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm Nicodemus, and I will be your host as we take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. And remember, none of this is financial advice. And it's 10 p.m. on a Thursday, June 8th, 2023. And welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we have no sponsors, no hidden agendas, and no BS. But we do have some news, so let's get to that. The United States District Court in Washington, D.C. issued a summons for Binance CEO CZ on June 7th. This happened just 2 days after the SEC formally sued the exchange for alleged unregistered securities operations. This summons was not marked as served at the time of writing. It requires CZ to respond within 21 days of being served. And if he fails to respond, judgment by default will be entered against him for the relief demanded in the complaint. The SEC's lawsuit against Binance was made public on June 5th. They levied 13 charges against the exchange. The majority of those charges were related to allegations of unregistered sales of its internal products and services. They're upset about Binance's crypto staking program as well as the company's supposed failure to register its primary and U.S. arms as exchanges. The SEC alleges that Binance and CZ have been operating unregistered securities operations. In its response to the SEC action, Binance stated that its business model is different from other exchanges. The company denied allegations that it ever siphoned consumer funds or collateralized borrowings. It also claimed that it never gave large donations to political candidates, nor made large sponsorships in entertainment and media entities. Gosh, I wonder who they're talking about. I don't think "I'm not as bad as these guys" is going to be much of a defense in court. I'm not a lawyer, but that's my guess. This statement was published on Binance's Chinese social channels with the hashtag #StrongTogether. The company emphasized its transparency and its commitment to its users and the industry. The SEC also alleged that Binance redirected billions of dollars of customer funds to firms controlled by CZ by way of an intermediary holding company known as Key Division Development Limited. The SEC's evidence for these allegations comes from the testimony delivered by Sachin Verma. Verma is an accountant employed by the SEC, and the SEC alleges that $12 billion was sent to Zhao and $160 million to a Guanyin Chen controlled company in Singapore. Chen, who is Binance's back office and financial manager, and Zhao controlled a number of companies with no obvious connection to Binance in their name. The SEC says that the majority of the funds sent to Zhao and Chen are now in accounts offshore. In another development, lawyers for Binance claim that the current SEC chair, Gary Gensler, once offered to serve as an advisor to Binance. This claim is based on a meeting between CZ and Gensler in Japan in March of 2019. Apparently, they discussed the Binance token, and they talked about Binance operating an exchange in the US. Binance's counsel wrote that Gensler offered to serve as an informal advisor. Reportedly, this is a role that Gensler himself offered. Binance's counsel has argued that Gensler should recuse himself from the case due to this history. However, the SEC has not confirmed if Gensler will be recused from the case. So, this is a bad breakup that's threatening the entire industry? Is Gary upset with crypto because Changpeng turned him down? Inquiring minds want to know. Now, in the meantime, the SEC and Binance are due back in court on June 13th regarding a temporary restraining order to freeze all assets on Binance US. The SEC has been investigating Binance US since at least 2020, and as a result, they allege that Binance held custody of its US affiliates' assets until December of 2022. They said this was despite assuring regulators and the public that they were separate entities. The SEC has been unable to determine why a Zhao-controlled entity would have acted as a pass-through account for billions of dollars of Binance platform's customer funds. It would appear that it was trading on the US platform using CZ's personal funds. The SEC's lawsuit against Binance is part of a broader regulatory scrutiny of the cryptocurrency industry. The regulator has been stepping up its efforts to regulate the industry, which has grown rapidly in recent years. The lawsuit against Binance is one of the most significant actions taken by the SEC in this regard. The outcome of this lawsuit will significantly impact the cryptocurrency industry. As the legal battle between Binance and the Securities Exchange Commission unfolds, the SEC's enforcement actions in the cryptocurrency space have significantly increased. Now, let's shift our focus to the SEC Chair Gary Gensler's push for stronger regulation and the impact that that's having on the industry. Now, as mentioned, the SEC's been busy. They have significantly increased their enforcement actions in the crypto space following the bankruptcy of FTX. In the 6 months preceding FTX's collapse, the SEC took approximately 6 enforcement actions. However, in the 6 months since then, that number has jumped to at least 19, including Binance and Coinbase. Now, those actions against Binance and Coinbase have been met with criticism. Some observers suggest that the SEC is attempting to redeem itself for failing to police FTX. I think that's part of it. I expect a lot of it comes from the dirty political contributions that have gone largely unreturned, by the way. Republican Representative French Hill said the recent crackdown was a move from the regulator and that SEC Chair Gary Gensler wanted to cover his own mistakes. Hill accused Gensler of neglecting his duty to oversee FTX and instead focusing on criticizing celebrities promoting cryptocurrencies. Gensler said that the crypto industry must comply with regulations or risk collapsing. He noted that there were over 200 tokens listed on Coinbase and Binance. Gensler wanted to prove that at least one of them was a security that needed to be registered. He previously asserted that all digital assets were securities except for Bitcoin. He said projects listing or offering these quote-unquote security tokens must register with the commission. He also emphasized the importance of proper disclosures to help the public make informed decisions about their investments. The lawsuits against Coinbase and Binance will be presided over by District Court Judges Jennifer H. Reardon and Amy Berman Jackson. Reardon was nominated by President Joe Biden. She recently ruled on a crypto-related matter involving Binance US. Jackson was appointed by then-President Barack Obama. She has adjudicated on several highly political disputes, but none were related to cryptocurrencies. The SEC's lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase have unified the crypto industry. Many professionals have expressed their opinions on the matter, because some believe that the SEC's actions are going to drive crypto players in the US to more digital asset-friendly jurisdictions. Others think that the SEC's approach to regulation is unacceptable. They feel that it detracts from substantive policy efforts. There are also concerns that the SEC's actions could weaken consumer confidence in the cryptocurrencies in the US. Some crypto professionals have questioned the fairness and motivations of the SEC's move. They describe it as lazy and suggest that it does not drive proper regulation forward. While the SEC's crackdown on cryptocurrency exchanges like Binance and Coinbase has been met with criticism, it has also prompted other major players in the market to reassess their offerings. One such company is Robinhood, which is currently reviewing its cryptocurrency services in response to the intensified regulatory environment. Robinhood Markets is currently reviewing its cryptocurrency offerings. This decision comes in the wake of the SEC intensifying its crackdown on the digital asset market. In response to the SEC's allegations against Coinbase and Binance, Robinhood's Chief Compliance Officer, Dan Gallagher, stated that the company had been trying to register as a special purpose broker for digital assets. Now, please note, Gallagher is a former SEC commissioner, so he knows a thing or two. And he revealed that despite their efforts, they could not get the agency to guide Robinhood into crypto compliance. Sounds a lot like Coinbase. Does Gary Gensler only just know one tune? Now, Gallagher said that the SEC staff seemed to want to help, but the company was ultimately turned away. Now, Gallagher said that Robinhood took the initiative when Gensler invited firms operating without the agency's approval and oversight to register. So they went through a 16-month process trying to register a special purpose broker-dealer with the SEC. However, in March, they were told that the process was over and that they would not see any results from their efforts. What a shock. Now, the snark here is kind of justified because this experience is not unique to Robinhood. Coinbase's top lawyer, Paul Grebo, also expressed similar frustrations. He said that after months of discussions about how Coinbase could register as a broker-dealer or an alternative trading system, they were simply dismissed by the SEC without any response or counterproposal. Now, one of the final sticking points for Robinhood's registration with the SEC was the lack of registration and disclosures from the issuers of tokens that trade on the platform. Gallagher argued that it's impossible for Robinhood to ensure that outside issuers meet SEC demands. Despite these challenges, Robinhood provides users access to 18 different digital assets, including Solana, Cardano, and Polygon. Especially relevant because these are now being considered unregistered securities, well, based on the SEC's lawsuits anyway. Now, while Robinhood's collection of cryptocurrencies is relatively limited compared to Binance and Coinbase, the company is intent on avoiding the SEC's attention, which is understandable. Robinhood has previously faced issues with US regulators before due to its operations, so this isn't Robinhood's first rodeo. Earlier this year, the company was ordered to pay over $10 million in fines for registering operational deficiencies that negatively impacted investors during the COVID-19 crisis. Last summer, the New York State Department of Financial Services imposed a $30 million penalty on Robinhood for violating anti-money laundering and cybersecurity laws. The SEC's enforcement actions have forced crypto companies to reconsider their offerings in the country. This dispute over compliance is no longer in the hands of the industry or even the SEC. It's going to be decided in the courts. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong stated in a CNBC interview that the industry might not exist in the United States except if they go to court. As the SEC continues its enforcement actions, the focus now shifts to the evolving landscape of cryptocurrency advertising regulations. We'll explore the proposed stringent rules by the UK's Financial Conduct Authority and the complaint filed by the European Consumer Organization regarding tighter cryptocurrency advertising rules on social media platforms. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA, is preparing to implement stringent new rules for cryptocurrency advertising. Their proposed regulations will take effect once the country's planned laws for the industry are finalized. They classify cryptocurrencies as, quote, restricted mass market investments. This classification will require clear risk warnings in any advertisements or promotions. It will also prohibit incentives to invest, such as refer a friend or new joiner bonuses. The FCA's new rules are part of the Financial Services and Markets Bill. That bill is currently moving through Parliament. It represents the UK's post-Brexit financial strategy and will include cryptocurrencies in the scope of the country's regulated financial activities. Despite opposition to these measures, the FCA plans to proceed with them, specifically treating cryptocurrencies as high-risk investments and preventing new investors from receiving non-real-time promotion offers. In addition to these rules, the FCA is seeking public feedback on new guidance. This guidance is aimed at ensuring firms understand the implications of these requirements for cryptocurrency asset promotions. The proposed guidance stipulates crypto firms should conduct adequate due diligence and have sufficient evidence for the underlying cryptocurrency asset to ensure that the financial promotion is fair, clear, and not misleading. The FCA's new rules come in response to the doubling of estimated cryptocurrency ownership in the UK from 2021 to 2022. According to a report published by the FCA, 10% of 2,000 people surveyed said that they own crypto. The FCA's strategy aims to reduce and prevent serious harm. Firms that breach the FCA's upcoming promotion rules could face up to 2 years of imprisonment, a fine, or both. Now, meanwhile, in Europe, the European Consumer Organization, or BEUC, filed a complaint with the European Union consumer protection bodies. This complaint calls for social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter to tighten their cryptocurrency advertising rules. The BEUC argues that consumers are often promised get-rich-quick investments by ads and influencers on social media, which can lead to significant financial losses. I'd just like to point out, the Crypto Overnighter has an editorial policy not to push specific investments, by the way. I mean, I do want you to invest, but I'm not going to tell you what you should invest in. The BEUC's complaint comes as the EU prepares to implement the Markets in Crypto Assets regulation. MiCA will require crypto providers to have a license to advertise across the block. Despite these forthcoming regulations, the BEUC believes additional measures are needed under existing consumer laws prohibiting unfair commercial practices. The BEUC's report also criticizes the use of finfluencers as a source of information for a younger audience. So they're calling for a prohibition on influencers promoting cryptocurrency products. This report calls for the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network to request social media platforms to implement stricter conditions in their advertising policies and to submit reports to the European Commission about the effectiveness of the measures put in place. These developments highlight the increasing scrutiny faced by the crypto industry and the efforts by regulators to protect consumers from potential financial harm. So, as this industry continues to grow, I expect further regulations and guidelines will be introduced to ensure that consumers are adequately informed about the risks associated with investing in crypto. But that's just my guess. Now, let's delve into the resilience of the DeFi sector amidst the SEC's charges and recent legal developments. So, the DeFi sector is looking pretty tough. The SEC charges against Binance and Coinbase have not significantly impacted the value locked on DeFi applications. Specifically, applications operating on the very blockchains of tokens alleged as securities. Despite falling prices of tokens such as Solana and Polygon, there has been no substantial capital flight, suggesting a positive sentiment among global market participants. The SEC's charges come amidst a lack of regulatory clarity on whether crypto tokens can be considered securities. Despite these uncertainties, the value locked on Cardano, Solana, and BNB chain networks fell just over 5% in the last week, in line with a broader market decline. These declines hovered at just over 1% on a monthly basis. Market observers believe that a lack of capital flight from DeFi apps indicates the type of market participant that dominates the current climate. The majority of these so-called tourists have already left the space. The remaining participants are more likely to be dedicated believers who are less affected by the latest actions of the SEC. The classification of tokens such as securities does not impact the viability of the underlying tech of DeFi. And frankly, it doesn't make the tokens or the apps any more or less valuable. I expect these forces will likely only drive more financial activity to DeFi. Now, in other news, a U.S. judge recently dismissed a lawsuit against the DeFi platform PoolTogether. This lawsuit was filed by Joseph Kent in October of 2021. Kent alleges the DeFi startup violated gambling laws in New York State by allowing people to evade financial regulations and to scam consumers. However, the judge ruled that Kent did not have standing to pursue a lawsuit because he, quote, suffered no concrete harm at the hands of the defendants. The judge also said that the federal court system was not the correct place to air concerns against the DeFi startup. Now, PoolTogether is a DeFi project built on optimism. The project was inspired by premium financial products available in the UK known as premium bonds, or commonly as no-loss lotteries. When a user chooses to deposit into PoolTogether's fund, they earn a small chance to receive a daily prize. Now, users who do not win the prize get all of their money back automatically. The prize money comes from interest earned on user deposits, which are sent by PoolTogether to larger staking pools to collect interest on behalf of PoolTogether users. Now, PoolTogether isn't entirely in the clear. Despite the dismissal, the judge said that Kent is free to pursue his claims in state court. He said the concerns raised in the dismissal motions that remain unanswered should be resolved by the New York Court of Appeals. In 2022, the DeFi startup raised 769 Ether, around $1.4 million at the time, by selling, quote, Pooly NFTs. The funds were used to fight the lawsuit, which some community members believe to be an attack on the DeFi sector as a whole. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe, leave a rating, or maybe a review. And in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.